Everybody's going crazy. The world's going crazy. Trump's going crazy. The Senate's going crazy. Bronco going crazy. Everybody's going crazy now. How you doing? I'm Claude Jones from Claude Jones Presents, Joneselle. We got a very special segment with my comedic brothers and sisters up here. I know you used to me vamping, we're getting a little hyper, that's who I am, Some people say I need Jesus and all this stuff, but even though Jesus is imaginary person that never exists, it's all right though. Have your fake form areas you want to, you know what I'm saying? Because look at it, you believe in Jesus, well, guess what? He didn't do really good for himself, did he? He got a real good butt whipping, didn't he? He ain't coming back from 2,000 years, you'll forget that part. Keep on thinking you want to for the imaginary people. But I got some of my own people who talk about comedics, who calm me down a little bit, keep me stop being so angry. You know what I'm saying? It helps my whole soul and spirit. Get that steady side of me, bring Haru in. Understand? So I'm letting my people talk to you about comedics, soul and spirits, and bring the reality to you, not that fake one that got you believe in. That only gonna slave your mind and mental level. So I'm going to my left, my brother here. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, Ujai, Claude. Good to be on the show, man. Thanks for having us. My name is Zekraim Ma'atib Sau, and I'm here with another brother and another sister of mine. They want to introduce themselves.
Greetings, Claude. My name is Nekitem Kamentu. I'm one of the students or initiates at the Earth Center here in the New York area.
And Ujai. I didn't know you had that fiery side in you, but I'm glad to see it a little bit. My name is Jizarita Dabasa. I'm also a student here at the New York Earth Center.
All right. Here we go. Now we're going to ask you questions. I want you to explain what it's about. And if you want to do like a little ancestral area to bring us to the forefront, if you could too, if you want to.
Sure. I would like to start by saying a prayer first, traditional prayer. Nuk hekau pui, abe mrei hati, ra neteru heri wati emrei, nuk ra iahu, nuk bafe hekau.
Wow, that's what I felt. I felt something now. I said I felt something real there, you know what I'm saying? Not that other stuff you hear. I feel something there. I feel it right here. I feel it up here and here. I know you feel out there too, Not the other stuff you hear in that other congregation, that. You feel real stuff, this ancestral stuff. So explain what we just did. Explain to us.
Well, first, to give thanks and gratitude to our master, who is the founder of this organization that we're a part of, Neb Nabala Musa Morodenibig, who's a Dogon priest. And he was the founder and brought this education here to the States. So that prayer is a very ancient prayer. It's thousands of years old. And it's a prayer that helps us to reconnect with the root of creation and to restate our connection in creation as a part of it. It's very deep.
That's very deep. That we need.
Yeah.
We need that kind of stuff. We hear a lot of other areas. If you don't know who you came from, your ancestral areas, you get lost in the cut. You get lost in the mix. So you don't act cultural, act who you really are. You think about television areas of how they have you portraying us as people, and because you don't know who you are yet, so you get lost in that slavery mental area, that mental stage. To lose that stage, you can't know where you really came from. Now the Dogon people, they go back to Pharaoh stages, right?
Oh yeah, and beyond. The Dogon are representative of bloodlines that go back to the Pharaonic period, but even predate what we know as the Pharaonic period. So it's the living legacy of those cultures that are still alive today and preserving the knowledge.
Okay, so it was hidden. How long was hidden? Was it buried, or where did it come? How did it get there?
Well, the knowledge was more public during the Pharaonic period, and there were a lot of invaders, so the knowledge had to hide. So a lot of the bloodlines migrated across the Sahara into now what we know as Africa. And West Africa, that's where it's being preserved. So it was only until recently that it started to expose itself again to the world on a global scale.
Okay, now we want to go to terminologies, because people, what is the real name for Africa? Because people want to hear that European tag, they want to know the real name. Kick the real name to it.
Well, I know a lot of people use the word Africa in different ways and different spellings, but there's a history to it that it's actually a derogatory term that was publicized by the Romans when they started cutting up the geography to own it, as colonies. But the real word that we use is merita.
Merita.
Yeah, which means beloved land.
To hear that, your so-called Africans out there too, you don't know that either, right? I told y'all I'm coming for you. Go on, brother.
Yeah. Some people say tameri as well. That's like a syntax. So you can say tameri or merita, it means the same thing.
Same two concepts.
Yeah.
Same concepts.
Yeah.
That's good. Because people don't know. People think this Africa, and I be talking to a lot of people, some be telling, look, that's European terminology. That ain't really what the name is. And a lot of even some brothers from there keep saying Africa. I said, but you don't know what your own landmass is? They don't know. It's sad, but true. That's sad. So that's good. So it came from Merita. And because now, you hear a lot about this, so that predates, now you said Pharaonic. Is it pronounced the name?
Pharaonic.
Now, what did that mean? Because a lot of people, nobody know that terminology.
Oh, yeah, that's what people consider the time of the pharaohs, which was when what we know as ancient Egypt was at its height as a capital area. But that's really representative of the seat of kingships in the culture. So at a certain period of time, about 2,500 years ago, and then going back into antiquity, thousands of years, that area around the Nile Valley was the capital area. Almost like D.C., how it's the capital of the states.
Yeah.
Well, that would be like the capital of the Kemetic culture or of the traditional culture at that time.
So what we see right now, how much has changed you see in the culture, in the communities of knowing this area? It's like a lot of them lost. What do you think that contribute to our lostness of people not knowing about what's going on?
Well, there have been cultures that have tried to control the population over the years. If you look back in history, you'll see that. A lot of the rulers and the Caesars, you see that in a lot of Greek, Roman culture, and then some of the petty kingships in a lot of European culture that came afterwards who were trying to rule the world, trying to get riches and stuff like this. So when you're trying to control people, no matter where they're from on the planet, even if they're from indigenous South America, if they're from indigenous parts of Europe, Siberia, Africa, anywhere, or Merita, if you're trying to control them, the first thing that you do is you divide and conquer, and then take away their empowerment. You take away their ability, their knowledge of nature, their knowledge of self. You start taking that away and then turn the people against each other. And that's systematically what's been done for thousands of years to control folks. So right now in 2018, you're seeing a society that's degenerated very far into that scheme. And that's where we are. So it's high time we tap into something that's being preserved somewhere so we could drink clean water instead of recycling all this dirty water that we have.
Now, a lot of people got a image in their head about Africans or Merita communities that uncultured and barbaric. Now, speak on that sort of, because I had to put a lot of people in check. About this situation. You know who you are. I'm coming for you. Now, let's tell us how cultural about our people. Tell them about the real truth about Merita, how he is.
Well, it's very interesting. When I started exploring, trying to go back there, I met a lot of adversity myself. People, naysayers and people saying it's dangerous, it's terrible, it's corrupt, you're gonna get sick, stuff is savage over there. And I was surprised when I arrived there, I found the most civilized place I had ever been in my living life. Very humble people, very advanced knowledge of nature. Very, the human behavior there is just very considerate and thoughtful, very principled people, which was different than where I came from the big city, where everyone was aggressive, everyone had somewhere to go, they didn't know how to talk to each other, everyone got into arguments all the time, and it was very different. So I was like, wow, not only are these people healthy, and I'm seeing a lot of elders, but everybody's very civilized. And there was always like very tempered, civilized discourse amongst people.
A lot of calmness.
Calmness, yeah, just calmness and consideration and positivity and healthiness, psychological healthiness. You saw children that are very young that know who they are. You don't have this like desperation where people don't know who they are. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? It's a little different over there. There's a stability because of the culture.
See, that's kind of good because see what I'm saying? He getting the real truth to the matter of what's going on. Skill that what you hear, or what you think it is, about how it put people betrayed, You're getting straight from where it is and where it started from.
Yeah, let me just make one point to kind of contextualize what he's saying, in that you have multiple faces of Merita as well, or Africa. Right? You have the colonial face, and you have the traditional face of Africa. What he's talking about is him being exposed to the traditional side of Merita, where the culture is still preserved. So despite these colonial forces who've come in and tried to erase the culture, you might say, traditional people in different little pockets around the continent have preserved the traditions and the culture. And what he's speaking to is being exposed to that traditional face of Africa. And, you know, he'd tell you, like, it's vastly different from the image that's portrayed by the system.
Okay.
Right?
All right. You kind of quiet over there. You can jump in there.
And I'll add on to that as well, because I know my first trip to Merita, I was very shocked and amazed because the people are so humble, they're so loving, they're so giving. And I didn't even know how to respond to that, because we're in a society where it's always this give and take, give and take. And that's the way that this society functions.
Yeah.
If you don't get something unless you give something. Well, they were just giving so openly, so honestly, and humbly. And I can remember the first time I had to go and pump well water for myself.
Wow.
And I didn't have anything to give all these little children that just came out of the woodworks, just out of nowhere. And they came to help me. And I'm like, I don't have any candy, I don't have any gum, I don't have any money, I can't even speak their language.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what am I gonna do? And I just kept saying, you know, in my own language, no thank you, no thank you, I got it. And they took my bucket, they pumped the well for me, or pumped the water for me, and gave it back to me. And all I could do was say thank you in their language, and they giggled because I didn't say it properly, and then they ran away.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I couldn't believe it, because I know with even my own nephews and my nieces, if they do something for me, it's like they have their hand out and they want something, you know, and it's like they didn't want anything. And so I saw that resonate not only just in the children, but in even the teenagers. When the women come home from the grocery store, they had the babies, they come and they take the babies from the mothers and assist. They put the groceries away, they help with the cooking and the cleaning and all these things. And I'm just sitting back in like pure amazement, because that's not how we function. You have to make children do things here in this society. But they do things willingly. They have responsibilities, and they take those responsibilities very seriously, and without question, without bickering and fighting. And it's just so beautiful to see. And that same culture you see in the youth, the teens, the elders, and it's just, again, just so humbling to be a part of.
See, that sound nice. See, I'm saying that don't sound nice. I'm saying that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm trying to talk about. You know, so all this you hear a lot going on. Feed the children. We got our own stuff going on over there. You know, they want you to think that it's Merita, some poor, desolate country that savages. Nah, you all got it twisted. Nothing like that you hear, because they want you to believe that so they can scam you. This comes straight from here, from America. It's love play, but that's an issue. I think that's a problem too, because we're so open-hearted. We give, and you got some barbarians who will take advantage of that situation. They might be in this situation now because we gave. Come in our household, we gave bread, they take our refrigerator. You know what I'm saying? Give them milk, they take loaves of bread and the milk. So some people not used to that givingness, and they take advantage of giving, are open-hearted. That's why a lot of our situation now. My people in sorry, we here, Turtle Island, New York City, we're here because we was so giving to people, and they took advantage of our hearts and put us like a person called, what's it? Oh my God, it hit my head. It was a lady came. What's her name? Oh man, up to my tongue. It was a slave they brought over here, and she was from Africa. Maybe you probably know a lady. They put her in the circus because she has a prodigious body. And it's the tip of my tongue. I can't believe I forgot the lady's name.
Her real name.
Yeah, I think I recall that.
And I can't believe I forgot her name. But you know, they lied, they told her, oh, come over here, and they, you know, because she's good-hearted and friends, so she will trust people. That could be our bad nature. That's our good nature, but also our downfall, maybe, because we're so good-hearted people.
Yeah, I think, Claude, though, you got to be careful. You can't make this like a us versus them dichotomy, because you fall into pretty much the same trap that they've set up for us. Right?
Okay.
And as Hatini explained earlier, one of the things you do when you're trying to control people and manipulate people is you break them up into diverse camps and little camps, and so we don't want to get into that. The barbaric nature of humanity is like, it's a common history that we all share. Right? It's a common history we all share. So know that the beast is locked away in the human heart. It's like we're all capable of doing really barbaric things. And that's what this knowledge is all about, that we've been exposed to through the Earth Center, is about how to contain that barbaric, you might say, side of us. How to contain that aspect of us that's destructive. Yeah, that's the key part to the knowledge that's being shared by the Earth Center.
See, I like this. See, he calmed me down a little. I like that. I'll go to fiery. I got a question for you, though. What do you say about Trump?
What did I say about Trump?
How could you control that fire?
I think as a people, we need to be more focused on what we're doing as opposed to what they're doing. Like, we need to, because that's part of the game as well. Have you constantly distracted, constantly preoccupied with what they're doing, while you're not doing anything. You're basically in a reactionary mode. So we need to be more about what we're trying to do. All right? And I think that's a key part of what the Earth Center is about. You know what I mean? We need to create a new future for ourselves, and this is a key part of it. Because we have to be thinking like ourselves, really, if you think about it. Because, you know, they've done a good job through colonialism of changing even the way we think. The logics we use, all of these things. They've attacked all of these things. So we need to change that. And the Earth Center and the knowledge that it's presenting to us here in the West is about connecting with our ancestors. Of course, that's a key part of it, and connecting with nature, at the heart of it.
Yeah, that's the thing, because these days we live in such a political world, and that's when someone colonizes you. When they truly colonize you, it's almost like a sickness that you catch through contagion. And that's what's done. Even some of those who's colonizing us now were colonized previously. It's like a virus that gets passed around. And all of the politics that we're drowning in now are something that's imposed. It's something that once you get lost in it, it becomes a dominant reality. And really, the treasure that traditional life brings is practicality, because that's what we need more of. In a political world, we need more practicality, connection to nature, just things that make sense, things that connect us to our environment. And that's the genius that the traditional education brings. But you know, the Earth Center, just to explain a little bit, the Earth Center is an educational organization based out of Africa. So it's structured as a 501c3 in the States, and we have 3 branches. We have a publications house, one that focuses on holistic healing,
that's good.
and another branch that's a school where we actually have classes.
Alright.
So there's a lot of ways you can get involved in the Earth Center. You don't have to just take the classes or get involved in the holistic health, or just do the magazines. There's ways you can get involved. We have memberships and everything.
That's cool, that's good. So give me a little update on the holistic side, the herbal side, because you know, as a people, you know, they eat bad food, porks and all this stuff. Is pork bad?
Well, I will say this. I'll go even farther.
Okay.
I think here we don't even know what a real pig is, or we don't know what a real chicken is.
True. Yeah, you're right.
Or a real cow for that
Yeah,
that matter.
yeah.
Because back home in Merita, we have those things, and they're not necessarily bad to eat because it's a natural animal. But it's very different. I eat things there, and then when I eat them, I'm healthy. When I come back here and I need to subsist and try to eat the same things, I will get sick. It's just that simple because of all the toxins and the way they raise these things.
Okay. So family, give me like a issue of like, even spirituality, dealing with these, you see a lot of spiritualities that's claiming this or claiming that, of what makes our Kemetic spirituality stronger than, say, another spirituality, so, or no, claiming their religion to our spirituality. Because people don't know the difference. People think religion is spiritual, but it's not. So give me a definition of religion with spirituality.
Well, you know, we're very practical people. We live in nature. And in nature, there's what we consider the seen and the unseen. People call it God, spirits, but we also have the plants, the trees, everything is connected. So we don't really separate that, but we see ourselves as practical people, you know. And one of the things that might be a little different about the Kemetic approach is that we have this kind of hospitality that's built in. So back in the day, in the Kemetic lands, let's say you have your gods and the different things that you respect on your land or in your village, and I have my village that's maybe 100 miles away. When I come visit your village, the first thing I do is pay respect to your gods because they're in nature. It's a practical thing. I'm not going to say mine is better than yours or yours is better than mine because that's like turning yourself against nature itself. So for us, we had this built-in hospitality and practicality that had to do with spirituality. So for us, it wouldn't make sense. Why would I come over here and say that mine is better than yours? It would be like saying that this tree in my neighborhood is better than your tree in your neighborhood. It makes no sense to us. So it's a little different philosophically.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Because some people, I had a debate sometimes with people about religion. I tell people with religion, I say, you know, religion is man-made, spirituality, born is spirituality. You know, I've been thinking like, you know, religion is a man-made base that they cause control in people's minds and mental levels and put you in enslavement. Spirituality, something you're born with, you got to tap in that area, have spiritual life. And if I learned area of development that, you know, we got these religions that not got nothing to do with spiritual. You know, you got to hit big names. Now I'm getting to you now, like the Catholic religion, who is, you know, having sex with little kids and boys. That's not spiritual. You know what I'm saying? That's a whole nother area. So, you know, my whole spirituality, what you say is spiritual. What those so-called religion, I say, I feel is a domicile mind of controlling. In some religions, like when we were people coming from America, our sisters was up with us. When the so-called European colonization, they try to put our sisters down from us because they couldn't understand that our sisters woman's strong. Women's our backbone. But they don't want that part. Since the religion, some religions want to believe that women is not strong. Area. So some areas of like caste religions and other stuff, you put like, and you take our words like amen. Where does amen come from? Because people don't know. And they say it every day in church, so-called church, they don't know where they come from. They think it's their word.
Sure.
So explain what amen came from.
Yeah, sure. Well, first, just like if you're on the street, if someone's trying to hustle you and they start telling you gotta dislike someone else to feel good about yourself, your first question is gonna be, what are they trying to work? What's the angle they're trying to play?
Yeah.
And that's the same thing when you see religion or something like that saying that in order for you to feel good about yourself, in order for you to be stable, that you have to dislike somebody else or judge them or put them down.
Yeah.
That's when you have to think twice, like, so what are they trying to accomplish by doing that? Because that's the same thing anyone whose brain works would ask on the street on the individual level. So it's no different on that civilizational level.
Yeah.
But so yeah, amen. Sometimes in the villages today we say ameni, we say imen, we say imen. Amen, it's actually a divinity that comes from ancient times. You know, he's actually known as the hidden one. And somehow the usage of him in respect to end prayers has persisted. You'll see it in Islam, you'll see it in Christianity, you'll see it in certain applications in Judaism and around the world. Yamin, Amina, all of that. So that's actually a connection to Kemetic culture.
See that? Amen. See? You see? You see what I'm saying? I've been telling you all this. I tell you it every day. I'm tired. I tried debating so much times. They come to my house, them Jehovah's Witness people, and them kids. I'm debating. I've been telling you, look, you say amen every day in church, and not even your word is a deity. I keep telling you where it comes from. You don't believe me. You're hearing it right now where it breaks it down to you. So when you go to church, you won't get amen thinking some other imaginary person you're supposed to worship. You know where it's coming from now. All right, so stop it. Your preachers know the truth. You're deceiving people. Understand? You're deceiving the flock. All you is, you're deceiving them. Okay, I'm sorry about that. And also, this hat, this is not a Trump hat. Let you know, read it real carefully. Not for Trump. It's called Sugar Daddy. Understand? Okay. Had to break it up because people think the red hat means Trump, but it's not. He don't own the color of the red. Okay. Now, I'm sorry back to it, but people had to spew a little bit out of that. Okay, now. So amen. I like hearing that. Now we know how to break down amen. Now, give me some misconceptions that you hear for yourself of Kemetics, or you think you heard that you want to bring to the forefront.
Well, I know for me, before I got exposed to this knowledge, I thought the traditions were basically gone. I thought there was no one preserving the culture. And so it was a big thing for me to actually get exposed to the Earth Center and realize that, wow, all this ancestral knowledge is still being preserved. All these thousands of years, since Europe has come into dominance. So for me, it was huge. It was huge. When you think back, we look back historically at what remains of ancient Kemet, and we marvel at it. And what we have to understand is the kind of culture that these people lived, that is reflected in their craftsmanship, in everything that they left, that we have as evidence. And for me, that was really powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, and Kemet is the light of the world. It's like we have to face it. Kemet was that civilization that basically sent out emissaries to different parts of the planet and basically raised the level of humanity.
Okay.
So we just kind of continuing in the same tradition. The Earth Center was founded by the prophet Nebnama Musa Denebig, who was a Dogon priest, walking in the same footsteps. And he had the vision that it was time to actually bring the knowledge out. So it's been preserved in secrecy, in the bush for thousands of years, and he thought it was time to actually go out and teach modern mankind, like, look, this knowledge is still here, this is what we hold in, and really, as far as I could see, it's humanity's hope for the future, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a joke. I don't know when you want to tell this joke. I did take the Earth to the class. I was in there. So I know about a joke. The joke was told me while I did the course about the guy in the school and in the bush. You remember that joke? Even the school, the bush, the guy in the bush, and the guy called him a certain name in the bush, and the guy, he didn't know what the name meant.
Sure.
Can you tell that little story?
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank on that one.
No, that's in the intro. That was first of all, our founder, our master, he was a very humble guy. And I'm going to explain the story. But he traveled to the States in the 90s, and he saw the level that things were at for black people and in humanity in general. And there was a real need for people to be exposed to some traditional knowledge, so that's when he began founding the school here, and got permission from his elders to bring it. So, but a very, very, very humble person, So one time when he was starting one of the classes, when he was introducing a new class and giving them an introduction speech. He gave a speech that was talking about cultural differences and very easy ways to misunderstand culture. And so, you know, in the bush or in traditional lands, you know, everybody, for the most part, has plenty because it's farming culture. You don't have to have the currency from the bank to have value. You have your value in the grains and your cattle and your farm and your village, all this. So, you know, money can just be made. So a lot of times the youth would leave, young men would leave the village just to come to the city, and they'll take whatever kind of job because it's just profit for them. Yeah. You know, because back home you don't have any expenses. Yeah. So there was this young man who came to work for a European man who was living in the big city there at that time, working for a cooperative. And every day he would serve him and, you know, take care of him, take out the trash, clean things up. And he didn't understand anything the guy was saying. And he would just bow and say thank you. And he would call him words like savage or ignorant or imbecile. But he never thought twice about it because he's just there to work and be humble, as people in the culture are. So one day he was looking at the guy when he was saying these things and saw his expression on his face and said, wait a second, let me ask my brother and see what what that word means. What does imbecile mean? And he explained it to him. And what does savage mean? And he explained it to him. What does ignorant mean? He explained it to him. And that's when he really got a little bothered by it. And he came back. And he approached the guy one day. And he said, okay. He says, you mean to call me imbecile? You mean to call me savage? You mean to call me ignorant? But it's you, when you have to go to the bathroom, you go in your bedroom. And you poop in your bedroom. And somehow you think because you flush and it goes out that you're smarter than me. But even I know good enough to leave the compound to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
So it's kind of a funny story because while the European guy thinks he's smart because he invented somewhere he can poop in his bedroom, and then the poop goes out, and then even a fan to take out the fart or whatever, the man from Africa knows very well you don't poop where you sleep. You don't do it. That's just basic. Yeah. You know, so those are like two competing ideologies where you have one that's thinking they advance and then the other one as well. So this is a very common thing you see. That's that story, right?
Yeah, that's the story. Yeah, 'cause that made me laugh.
But then the butt of the joke is Prophet Naba said, you know, you see these two ideologies, which one do you choose? Which one is better? And that's where society falls short because now we're trying to choose this one must be better than this one. And he said, well, if that were the case, then what do you do with the fart? And it's like, you know, neither person wins. If you spend your life fighting over silly things, whether, you know, you flush or whether you go to the bush, where is that going to get society? You know, it's like that's not even a real argument, but we'll spend our wheels, spend our time, our energy fighting over these silly things. You look at the politics that we're fighting over. You have Democratic, Republican. Isn't it the, you know, the same coin? Why are we fighting over that? It's like, that's not our battle. So we don't even get into politics. So we really don't care what Donald Trump does. We don't care what these politicians are doing because, you know, that's just not our battle. Our battle is really within ourselves. And you were asking about, you know, what are some of the misconceptions? I came into this education very angry. And I see the fire that you have. Because I was angry too. Like, if we were so great, if we were so powerful, if we were so this and that, well, what happened to us? Why didn't we fight back? Why didn't we do this? Why didn't we do that? So I came in like with an attitude because I wanted to know like what happened to us. And if we want to reclaim our culture, in my mind, I'm thinking we have to fight for it. But that's a huge misunderstanding that we have, that you can't fight evil with evil. If you try to fight evil with evil, that's going to make you even more evil than the evil you're trying to fight. Because in order to conquer evil, in order to conquer the devil, you have to be worse than him. So if somebody comes in here right now and they have a knife and they're like, I'm gonna, you know, take over this studio right here, And you say, well, no, you're
Don't you
not.
try it. I ain't comedic. Don't try. I'm comedic, but I ain't. Don't try it. Don't try it.
No.
Okay, go.
No, you don't. No, you won't, because
Yeah.
I've got a gun.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I have something even better than that. I have
A grenade.
a grenade or something else. And it's like,
Yeah.
it just gets bigger and bigger and
Yeah.
bigger. And it's like, whoever has, and that's how our society
Yeah.
has been misdirected completely, is because we are now going in a direction that's based upon who has the biggest gun.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the society that we're following. Whoever has the biggest gun, that's what we're going after. And that's what's destroying humanity. So our founder is trying to bring back some civility, because that's not how society existed. That's not how we thrived as a people. It wasn't by us dominating other people. It was through that act of kindness, through that act of giving, through that act of openness and sharing. That's how you build a society that functions well. Because even we have aspects and bits and pieces. When you go to the South, you get that Southern hospitality that you don't get in the city
Yeah, true,
anymore.
yeah.
And it's like, you know, you want some of
Yeah,
that. It's like, well, where did even that aspect
Come
that's
from, yeah.
come from? Because I know, like, I can look at my father and my grandparents and things like that. They have a level of civility that we lack. You know, so you can see how it just deteriorates bit by bit by bit. And we have taken over the society that our colonizer has brought upon us. And that's what we're trying to return to, our traditions, return to our culture and our way of acting and behaving, because we can't be bigger than the devil, because that just makes us worse than him.
Yeah. When you study colonialism, it's really a disgusting process. When you really, the more you learn about it, and the more you get to know about it and see it as a process, it become even more and more disgusting. Because we were talking earlier about being able to greet people on the street. Like us in the New York area, we're protective because we've been like shell-shocked by crime, by suspicion, all this stuff. So someone comes up on the street to you, we say like, who are you? What do you have to get from me when they greet you? That's why we're very protective like that. But in Merita, it's just a basic practice. You greet somebody because that's like greeting yourself.
Okay.
Because we all go back to the origins, together.
Yeah.
We're all coming from roots.
Yeah.
So for me to then not greet you and treat you like that is like for me to turn against myself in a way. And so it has a spiritual effect. And you see now in the city, people can't get together. Everyone's so frustrated. They're so aggravated, negative, because we've just lost these small basic things that keep us civilized. And that's how colonialism works. And to give it even more perspective, to even go bigger, it works like a virus, So now we're in 2018, right? Last 500 years, it's been European colonialism, right? That's been branching out into the world. That's been the dominant forces, the kingdoms of Spain, Germany, England, France, the Dutch. But even in those places, if you wind back to history and just a few hundred years and see what the Romans did to them, they used to have guys, men and women, who were traditional priests. They even had temples. In some places like Ireland and different places in Europe, it was traditional Kemetic society that was being preserved there.
Yep.
When the Romans got there, they began a campaign of putting colonial Christianity there, and then on every Sunday they would torture and kill all of the indigenous people. It's normal. You can research this. You can go, there's museums, you can see the instruments of torture. They show them. It's like every Sunday they would bring out the people who were the practitioners of traditional medicine, the wisdom keepers, the elders, and they would burn them at the stake. They would do all kind of manner of torturous things to them for centuries. And after that, doing that for centuries to exterminate and reinforce that in the minds of all those people in Europe, you have the Middle Ages, which is now you get these abandoned Roman colonies with no culture left that were in detriment, that lost all of the spirituality, that was systematically destroyed, shell-shocked, and then those are the people who are poised now in all of that deficit to go out into the world and bring that same sickness that was put on them
Spread it.
to bring it to other people. Now, if you don't know the history, you're going to think that it's just like something that just started there and came here. But even that, it was a disease that they contracted, and they became that which was imposed upon them. And then their own self-interest went out and imposed that on the world. And that's what they're fitting to do to us now. By making that's like the last level of colonialism. What we call like the deepest shame is like when the colonizer takes your mind and gets you to think like him, gets you to adopt his values and his sciences. And somehow we think that's a way that we're going to free ourselves from him or from them. And this is how disgusting it is. It's like a chain, you can follow it, just keep following it.
Like the Act of War book, huh? book called Act of War. Yeah, I see what you're saying. You got anything else to say about that? Anything else?
I just add that, over time we've seen our values eroded. Even within our lifetimes, we've seen the values erode in society, right? We just see the values eroding over time. And where are we headed, really?
Yeah.
Where are we headed? I have a saying that I say. It says like the slow walk back to barbarism, if you really think about it. Because I think personally that's where we're headed. If we keep going on with this, perpetuating the system that we've had to deal with. But there's an alternative. Okay, there is another way. They've worked really hard on how we think, even how we think. So we keep going around in circles and think we're making progress for some reason. We need to get out of this mindset that they've put us into, right? And that's a big part of why the Earth Center is here in America, in Manu, to recreate that environment where we could reconnect with our traditional past, with our ancestors, because that's another big piece of the picture that they've removed through colonialism, the ancestors.
Okay, so our ancestors, give me a breakdown of ancestors areas, because our ancestors, when you think of ancestors, we think of our ancestors of way back, million years ancestors. Who exactly is our ancestors? Say my ancestors, okay, say Ramses back. They think of Ramses, they think of areas when they were pharaohs and they still fought with that spirit. Now, what do you say to people say, well, even our ancestors had fiery in our spirit areas? What do you say about that? They had spirit of fire. Ancestors, like, think about the Ramses, they claim like Ramses, they say, the people believe or Ramses, or give me an explanation of Ramses or pharaohs back in the days. Like, would they had the same attribute, the same area?
Well, one of the things you have to understand about the pharaohs is, like, even their names. Their names are chosen, and their names have meanings, right? And so whatever the nation at that moment in time needed from a leader, then the pharaoh would take on that title as a name, right? And the names are a lot of times would include certain Neteru and all of that, because that was the kind of energy they wanted to put out, or lead the nation in a particular direction. So the pharaohs are the Kemetic royalty, right? That's the Kemetic royalty, and it's still alive in Merita. Maybe Hatani could speak a little bit more on that, but even the line of the pharaohs, it's still alive.
Okay.
And that's a part of the knowledge and the history as well.
I want you to break down the story, the Mahogany story, how did Christianity get Jesus and Mary, and where that came from. How they get this Jesus and Mary and these different names. Because people don't understand where they worship something that really came from another area. So I want you to break down how they get Jesus and Mary and all these people. How they get that? Where they come from?
One thing I'll just say, if you just think about like the existence is huge. is very big, it's very vast, but there's nothing new under the sun. So you can't create something. Only thing you can do is take something that you've seen, something that you've been exposed to, change it up a little bit and copy it to fit your needs. So if you wanted to design a hat, you'll only design a hat based upon something that you've already seen. It's got to fit a certain kind of way, and you can have different types of hats. But it's like, okay, I want to cover my head, and I'm going to look a certain way. So you'll only design a hat that fits that. You won't design something that, like slips over your waist because you're trying to design a hat. So that's like the same thing with religions. There was a spiritual system that was long, long ago, and it was working. Society was beautiful then, and people worked in harmony. Well, when people saw that, people came to Kemet, and they were hungry, they were desperate, they were coming from famined places, and they said, please help us, open your doors and help us. And we did that, and they were exposed to the Kemetic culture. So when they were exposed to that, as Hatani was saying, they took that culture back to their lands because it worked. It helped them prosper. It helped them to grow and to civilize themselves. So they took aspects of the culture back. But there was a point when it also became barbaric, because it's like, well, what do we do to get that? And it's like, you have a lot of rules you have to follow. There's a lot of principles you have to follow. It takes a lot of humility and all these things. And at some point, people were like, well, that's too hard. I don't want to do all that hard work. I'll just take it from you. So now they want to take it from you, and they will take what you have, flip it around, and use what they took from you against you. And see, that's what we're working with now. We have, because you see aspects of Christianity and just in the modern religions, you see aspects of that from the Kemetic culture, and it's like, well, where did they get that from? It's all in the history. It's nothing that's hidden. And as Hatani was also saying, that everything is connected. At one point, things were cohesive, things were working in harmony, and things were working well. But it was when the barbarism comes, and like he said, it can come from anywhere and comes within any of us, when you don't want to do the hard work and you want to get it easy, then you'll turn to barbarism and you'll say, well, I don't want to do the hard work, and I'll take it from you. So that's where you see, in the modern day now, you see aspects of the culture still.
What were the names? Like they so-called, like they got the word Jesus, but not the original name. They're from Kemetic. What was the names that they now is using? Like, we never use Jesus or Mary for our concept. What's the names that we have in Kemet?
Yeah, well, there's really, according to our archives, there's really two things that got mashed together. Evidently, there was a guy who was somebody who was an initiate, apparently, with some of the things that originally existed early on. Actually, a Kemetic initiate. And this is that person that they got the idea of Jesus from. But they took whatever following and the notion of this individual who was teaching or spreading whatever wisdom he was spreading, and they combined it with an old Kemetic story about the gods, about a young god child that was born from a god father and a god mother. And that's what we know as Aishat, Wusa, and Heru. Heru, the god child. So they took this story that had already been existing, that had gone through some changes already by the time Christianity was developed in Rome, and they mashed together the notion of this individual that lived at a certain time with this story that pre-existed that individual. And that's where you get the modern story about it. Even a virgin birth, all this kind of stuff, very interesting history.
That's what I wanted to get to, because you had a lot of stuff going around. A lot of people that's making money on people. I'm spiritual, but Christianity and stuff, I'm really can't deal with them because they make money with the poor people, the elderly, and it's for hope. Now, Kemetic, my area is love. They teach you about life in general. You know what I'm saying? not getting airplanes flying. Well, I need a plane, so give me your money, I'm gonna get an airplane. Oh, I need a new plane, I need a new limo, fast cars, and poor old people, elderly people, giving their last hard-earned to these people who really ain't teaching the real truth. You know, they teaching not the knowledge of what could better their condition. They teaching them something that they're gonna get them broke, poor, they'll make a life not even worth living. So they're gonna bring in the forefront the true spirituality, because most a lot of my shows, I'm ramping on them. I'm hitting them left and right. They get mad. You know, I don't care. I do my job. I want to bring the truth to the forefront so my people, everybody would know the truth about spirituality, where they get the name from. Because you hear a lot of people, you know, here, oh, you need Jesus. Oh, you need Jesus. I laugh at them. I say, I don't need no Jesus. No, I don't need Jesus. No, not me. Sorry. I be telling lies, you know. That's just me. I'm still in that level yet. I'm still prospering, transcending the level. But I want them to know where it came from. You broke it down good. I like that.
Well, unfortunately, though, here's the truth.
Yeah.
Because I like to speak in practical terms, you know. Whether you're Islamic, whether you're Christian, whether you're Kemetic and you wear all the clothes and the ankh and talk about the gods, you can be as corrupt as any other one of them, because at the end of the day, it's about human behavior. And you just have to leave it to a human being to be able to ruin something pure or something that was pure at one point. If you just leave it to the devices of the human, they'll do that. So for us, in the traditional lands, the first thing that we take care of is initiation, where we teach a human being about the weaknesses, about the traps, so that they can be vigilant and live their life without falling into the trap of them own selves. You know, that's a very, very important thing.
So give me some, what could they do? I mean, what areas could, like, say you got, what could you do to make sure that they don't fall in that trap?
Well, you know, there's an old phrase that we say about people, you know, sometimes you talk to some folks and it's like their own boo-boo doesn't stink, you know, the way they're talking about everything.
Yeah.
And that kind of person who thinks that they're perfect and that their boo-boo doesn't stink and all this is the most dangerous kind of human being, because they're not observing that territory within themselves. That's the #1 territory for evil to start from. Okay. If you don't look in yourself first, if you don't self-examine and say, evaluate yourself, then you become predisposed to being that thing that will, you know. Okay.
What I want y'all to do for me, I want y'all to give websites out, contact information, show some literature right now, and show what you have. If we're in this first segment, we're into this first segment soon. So I want you to get to that. And we'll do a part 2 next segment, those coming up too. But give me a website, your numbers. I'm going to contact you. They want to get part of your center, show, you know, give me contact information.
Sure. Our center is actually moving locations right now. Our main temple, we're moving to Newark, New Jersey at 90 Alexander Street. So that's where our office will be located. If you want to contact us, our same phone number will be functioning, the one that we had in Brooklyn and Queens, which is 347-529-1399.
Okay. You have a website?
Yes, we do. We have www.theearthcenter.org. But the website is under construction right now. So if you go on to it, you're going to see that.
Okay.
But we're fixing it. We have our Facebook, which is very active. So if you can like our Facebook, that will be good. We have a lot of benevolent projects that we're doing back home. We have farming, healing center, well building, and cultural preservation projects, temple refurbishment. We're doing a lot overseas as well.
So what's your Facebook page so they could go on your Facebook?
Kepta, K-E-B-T-A-H.
Kepta. Say it again?
Kepta, and that's K-E-B-T-A-H.
Okay, that's your Facebook page. So we had a very interesting show. This is part 1 of Comedics, and I want you to tune in for part 2 coming up next. Give you a rundown how to go down spirituality. Sometimes you got to calm it down a little bit to think a little bit clearer. You know, I enjoy the topic. I enjoy what I like to do. You know, that's who I am. You know, that's the core joke. And I enjoy my guests. Really gave me a good attribute of how we could do stuff together, come together as a harmony people. But maybe you got to think up here. Use your knowledge. Use your spirituality. And it's what you feel, you know, it's all spiritual. It's all spiritual. but you just gotta think before you react, and be calm about it. Sometimes keep your emotions. Emotion may get you on the best of you. And remember, like you're a boxer, you can't think with your hands all the time. You gotta think with your mind, because your mind is the main attribute to get areas. People in my job know, like me in my job. I think with this, how I do my thing. They never get the best because I think of my mind first. You know, as guys, young guys, whatever you want to call yourself, areas, you got to portray yourself as one to be thought of one. I'm Claude Jones Presents. I enjoy my content and I'm peace. And I see you next segment.
Dope. Thank you very much.
Cool.
Yeah, that was good. Thanks. So our next segment going to be, now I'm going to let you all get into the areas.
We can talk about our projects, about the branches, about the product.
Yeah. Everybody's going crazy. The world's going crazy. Trump's going crazy. The Senate's going crazy. Blanca going crazy. Everybody's going crazy now.